Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Joy Newsroom. The news is live on the Joy News channel, DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and across all our social media platforms. Coming up, a Ghana Statistical Service report reveals 1.5 million young people aged between 15 and 24 were not employed in school or under any training. We'll speak to a security analyst on the security implications. Also, U.S. charity, the International Justice Mission, says it is committed to making changes to its processes after a documentary by the BBC showing how some Ghanaian children were wrongly taken in raids during child trafficking rescues. Also, Pope John SHS overshadows Krobo Girls, Koforidia Sektek, and Kwetia Presby to progress to the semi-finals of the National Science and Math Quiz. Let's settle for the details now. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for staying. In our first story, the annual Household Income and Expenditure Survey 2022 third quarter labor statistics report has revealed that 1 in 4 young people in Ghana aged between 15 and 24 were not in education, employment, or training in 2022, totaling 1.5 million individuals. Now, over 20% of young people in most regions in Ghana were not engaged. Furthermore, 1 in 10 young people had never attended school, with higher rates for females. The unemployment rate for this age group was over 30% in 12 out of 16 regions, with females having a higher rate. Samuel Mbura joins with details of this report. Samuel, if you can hear me, what is the breakdown of this latest report?
The regions with the highest proportions of disengaged youth were Greater Accra, Ashanti, Eastern, and Central. The census also revealed that 1.4 million young people in that age group had never attended school, with higher percentages among females compared to males. Right. Regions such as Savannah, Northeast, Northern, Upper West, and Oti had significant numbers of young people who had never attended school. The unemployment rate for young people aged 15 to 24 was 32.8%, with higher rates for females compared to males. Several regions had unemployment rates over 30%, with the Upper West region and Western North being the highest.
Well, Samuel Mbura, we're grateful for those details. Is there anything else you would like to add to cap off the conversation?
Well, so what the report seeks to highlight is the fact that with the higher number of the youth not being employed, not being engaged or skilled, it has a potential of creating security issues. We know there have been issues that have to do with human security. And if you have a youthful population not engaged in anything, definitely it can, or it has a potential of increasing social vices or criminal activity. So this is actually a call for a cause to worry because of the situation at hand now.
Samuel Mbura, thank you very much for that report. And that leads us to our very next conversation, the security-related matters. Now, joining us via Zoom is security analyst Adib Sani. Mr. Sani, thank you so much for joining us. If 1.5 million young people aged between 15 and 24 are not in education, employment, and training, what for you are the security implications? Hello, Mr. Sani, can you hear me?
Sorry. Forgot to unmute. Okay, I hope you can hear me now.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Wonderful. So I indicated that it comes with a plethora of security challenges, because the thing is, youth unemployment poses a major existential threat to the security of the state. It is very much part of the human insecurities that is driving young people especially into criminality. And as we speak, according to the Global Terrorism Index report published this year against last year, the West African subcontinent has become the global epicenter of terrorism. Global. And last year, after Afghanistan, Burkina Faso is the most impacted country so far as terrorism is concerned in the world, not in Africa. But we know that there was a power transfer and the issues with the Taliban taking over, etc. As a result, it is expected that this year, when the report is published next year, Burkina Faso might take precedence as the most affected country by terrorism globally, and that might also include Mali, and that poses a bit of a threat to us. And one of the ways terrorists, based on my studies I've done, I'm a terrorism and counterterrorism specialist, and we've done a lot of work in that area. One of the major issues has got to do with unemployment. Young people who are swayed by the terrorists, and they don't have to have active recruiters on the ground. Just on social media, they are able to get into the minds of young people who are jobless, whose future is uncertain, who feel marginalized, who feel cheated by the system. And that is a problem for us. And talk about internal security. We've had to contend with robberies and other crimes in the past. Now, I'm glad the narcotics law have been changed so that at least instead of having people go to prison for 10 years on marijuana charges, we can have them pay fines. But, we can have them pay fines instead. But young people are particularly vulnerable to incidents of criminality in the country. Organized criminals love to tap into young people who are already without jobs and are frustrated. So I must say, what is happening is a major national security issue. And like I always say it, anytime I have the opportunity, instead of us to rely hook, line, and sinker on militarization of, as a means to ensure security or using the police, etc., we need to pay attention to the human insecurities. That is the major driver.
Right.
And one big component of it is youth unemployment.
That's an interesting picture you paint, especially when you consider the latest reports, the UNDP, the Ghana Statistical Service, on multidimensional poverty. If you put it side by side with these, then it means that it's quite a recipe that we are sitting on, isn't it? Final words on this?
Well, in the past, we used to have a human security department under the National Security Secretariat, which was headed by General Nunu Mensah. But since he was removed, it became dormant. But thankfully, recently, I met an officer who has become a good friend of mine. He's in charge of the human security and the national security outfit. And I'm hoping that they are given the necessary resources so we can pay attention to issues of human security, especially in conflict hotspots such as Alabanyo, Nkonya, such as Buku, and other parts of the country. So we don't have some people with vested interest taking advantage of young people. We need to pay attention to the urban slums as well, the Zongo, and all that, where we have a lot of young people who sit under trees to talk about just everything. When it's the political season, your favorite place to go is the Zongos. You don't answer their calls when after winning your bid, your election bid, whatever it is, whether it's parliamentary. But once you need the muzzles to go cause trouble, you go to the Zongos because they are available, because they are jobless. This must. And the only way out is for government to prioritize youth employment.
Thank you so much, Adib Sadi, for sharing your thoughts on this matter. He is a security analyst. Let's move on now to our next story. And the U.S. charity, the International Justice Mission, says it is committed to making changes to its processes after a documentary by the BBC showing how some Ghanaian children were wrongly taken in raids during child trafficking rescues. Country Director Anita Budu says the organization will take on board refinements to its processes, but insists there were factual inaccuracies in the documentary.
I am saying that there are inaccuracies in what is portrayed or it's not the full picture of the work that goes on.
What is inaccurate about using your own request and the report from the social welfare to point to the glaring facts that they are not trafficked kids?
What is inaccurate is that we cannot independently make a determination to move out and intervene. That intervention comes through the police processes and through their hierarchy and through their management systems. That is what is inaccurate.
Okay.
We are always a learning organization, and we learn case by case, operation by operation. And so I believe there was reference made about the way operations were done in 2017 or prior to 2017. We've taken a lot of lessons from that, a lot of dialogue. What we really pride ourselves on is building good relationship with our government partners, and so having dialogue as to what can work better and together moving forward in that. And so with this, yes, of course, things did not go 100% to plan, or as we would put it, but there are lessons to be learned, and we'll move forward with that. We always look to learn. We always look to grow. Processes were followed. Intervention is made. There is a process of interviewing, sitting with the children, determining more details around their family situation, family histories, and then going on to do further assessments as to what steps need to be taken for their continued well-being. In as much as our core mandate is supporting the justice system, we also believe very, very strongly that the well-being of the child is paramount. And when it comes to well-being of the child, the support system and the system of care is also important. And so all that is part of our programming. Okay. And so to just take a little part of our programming and overemphasize it and claim that is what is driving all our work.
So you see, Anita, the journalists dealt with facts that you cannot dispute. So why are you still blaming the journalists?
Well, I don't know I don't know that I can say I'm blaming the journalist.
Now, a producer at the BBC Africa Eye Investigations, Kwache Afrenioma, says the findings of the documentary reveal a target-driven culture at the organization.
On Operation Freedom, which was in October 2019. The woman at the center of this conversation here is a trader, Amladi, mother of two, breadwinner of her family, and how she was feeding her family was, through her trade. And she was, some time later, involved in an accident that left her partially paralyzed. As a result, she couldn't work. So one of her children was working with a fisherman, and she tells BBC Africa Eye that in a week, at most, they were making, the child was making 30 Ghana cedis, and that's how they were feeding. And indeed, she indicates that when the IGM-supported team came and embarked on this Operation Freedom, she tried to explain to them, but they wouldn't listen. IGM, as we've evidenced in the documentary, provided unreliable and inconsistent information to, in the case of the Moina rescue mission, for example, that led to children being removed from their families, people being prosecuted, and this is all based on the information that IGM provided. And this is how it works.
Okay, yeah. Quickly, give a minute. Say that in a minute.
Yeah, this is how it works. So IGM identifies specific cases of child trafficking. They have a team of investigators, and they then engage provide this information to their collaborating agencies, and that's where the collaboration begins, and then they embark on that rescue. So IGM itself that has a department that is supposed or actually does investigations prior to these rescue missions.
Right. And as you found, could this be, let's say an error or mistake? And I'm not saying that because they have issued a statement where they actually suggest that they are ready to learn, but they suggest that there are material inaccuracies. What did you learn was a total number that they have rescued through this mission of trafficked children in all so far, so that we may be able to give them a certain benefit that if they have rescued, say, 1,000 children, then it is not the case that this is what they do.
All right, so our investigation, I'll be able to speak strictly to what is contained in this investigation. Our investigation, for example, the operation in Pala in 2017, IGM, this was sort of a mass swoop where over 100 children were picked up by IGM, and out of the over 100, only 20% were identified to be trafficked. That means that 80% were not trafficked. And this was in Pala and the surrounding fishing communities. And this is according to IGM's own data. And also in the exercises conducted in Moina and also in Echiaman from involving Amlade.
Let's talk health now, and members of parliament are committing to greater funding to aid the fight of tuberculosis in Ghana. Despite affecting millions worldwide, the funding in Ghana is paltry. Now, the Stop TB Partnership revitalized the TB caucus in parliament to push the agenda. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante now reports.
There is a major advocacy by the Stop TB Partnership to put tuberculosis and its adverse impact on citizens' health and the country on the national agenda. The organization is seeking to revitalize the TB caucus of Parliament to push the agenda. At a meeting with the parliamentary group, it secured assurances of MPs to deepen the advocacy in the national interest. Dr. Ayew Efriye is chairman of the Health Committee of Parliament.
We expect by the next 6 months or in a year to have a lot of members on the platform. Our ability to be very active also depends upon you, Dave. We need to work together, set agenda, get statements on the floor, do debates, and then where money is, we can agree to set another agenda there. From our national budget to anywhere, you have tacit and explicit understanding of all of us to see to as to make this sitting impactful in the lives of the people.
Tuberculosis remains a pressing global health concern affecting millions of people around the world. National Board Chairman of the Stop TB Partnership, David Kwesi Afre, wants the funding gap addressed urgently.
TB funding gap is so huge, and when Doc said that HIV is 5 times or 4 times, you will think that he has $100 million and somebody has 500. He's actually having less than $20 billion, and somebody is having 120 million. And so, if HIV is TB is around $18 million for a 3-year program, and HIV is 120, and malaria is malaria is 120 and HIV is 90, almost $100 million. The TB gap is just so huge that we need all stakeholders to ensure that. I'm anticipating the day His Excellency himself, when we meet him, he will make an allocation, a commitment. So we have direct presidential commitment.
Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedubakwe, wants Ghana to catch up with other countries in terms of funding.
Is the need to have domestic funding. I mean, if you look at India, it came in as like a prototype country. Their funding for TB is about 80%. It's like the central government is funding 80% of their cost. If you compare to Ghana, largely our funding is by a global fund. If you want to address TB as a public health problem, then we need to be able to convince ourselves to invest into the treatment.
In Ghana, the escalating number of TB cases poses a significant challenge to the country's healthcare system and its progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goal target of ending TB epidemic by 2030. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante.
Let's stay on the health terrain and the construction of a health facility initiated by the Assembly member for the KO electoral area in the Kumasi metropolis has been abandoned for almost 5 years. The clinic situated at the Krobodumase market has been left for occupation by squatters as the community yearns for increased access to healthcare. There is more in this report.
A former assembly member of KO electoral area, Alexander Safokese, initiated the construction of a clinic and police station in 2018. He self-financed the project in fulfillment of a promise to residents while he was campaigning to go to the assembly. The KM, acknowledging the importance of the projects, prioritized the police station and reimbursed the assemblyman to take over the project. However, the one-story building serving as a clinic has been left to rot after the assembly member lost his seat. Second-hand clothes sellers now use part of the structure for trading. But the traders are anxious to see the completion of the health facility to support their health needs.
The risks involved in our operations is high. The hospital could have given us first aid.
I don't think she anytime in case I serious.
The abandoned clinic also serves as an apartment for some, and other food vendors have turned the space as a abode to prepare their food. A corn miller also occupies part of the structure for business, and at the back of the structure are scattered cooking utensils. The squatters say the rooms get flooded anytime it rains. They fear the building would collapse with no intervention.
This is where we sleep, but it gets flooded anytime it rains. The building looks weak, and we fear for our lives.
The clinic, when completed, would serve thousands of traders who ply their trade at the enclave, as well as the residents. Some traders who spoke to Love News say completion of the facility will reduce the stress of access and health care at Menshia Government Hospital.
Dr. Mensah Hospital,
there's no hospital at Dr. Mensah. The assembly member was a man of vision for such projects. They have commissioned the police station, but the hospital is left out.
The former assembly member is eager to see the facility completed. Though he has committed resources to the project, Alexander Safokese says the facility belongs to the people. He has appealed to the Member of Parliament for Menshia South, Dr. Matthew Pokuprempe, to help complete the facility.
We finished the ground floor, so it was left with the first floor, and we floored the building, we plastered the ground floor, we did what do you call it, terrazzo, and we did all the windows. So basically the ground floor was done, it was finished. That they could have used it if they wanted to use it, but it was left with the wards. That is female and male wards. In terms of people delivering the baby or minor surgeries, they could have done it there. And it happens to be my own money, you know, my own funding, and MP's funding too. So I urge the MP to come to my aid, or to the people's aid. It's not mine. It belongs to the people, okay? It belongs to the KO, the people of KO, and for that matter, Menshia South, because everybody else can use it, and people coming to Menshia too. But I'm sure the MP would take care of it. I mean, I have confidence in him, and I know he's a good man. I'm sure he will come to the aid of the people. I'm very sure the MP will do it.
For Joy News, Nana Boachidankwayadom, Kumasi.
Still on health, the Minister of Education has begun the retooling of sick bays at various second cycle institutions to improve healthcare delivery for healthy study environment. The project is to equip the clinics at the various second cycle institutions to ensure that they cater for the healthcare needs of the students. Now, the Education Ministry is doing this in partnership with SAF, a construction company, to provide medical equipment to augment the ones at the various sick bays. 5 schools are the beneficiaries of the pilot phase of this initiative. There is more in this report.
Ghana's Education Ministry has begun sick bays at senior high schools with the aim of improving the healthcare delivery on various campuses. As a result, the ministry has presented medical items including BP monitors, infrared thermometers, nebulizer, and rapid diagnostic test kits, among others, worth 200,000 Ghana cedis to 5 schools at a short ceremony to present the medical equipment to the piloted schools at Accra Academy. Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei Educhum called for support to enhance the health of students.
So when we got the opportunity, we selected them to be part of the list of beneficiaries. But this is just phase 1. We're also appealing to companies and organizations to support the health of students. So this is just the beginning of the work that we intend to do with the Ghana Health Service, Ministry of Health, to make sure that we strengthen school-based health clinics and health centers so that the students will get the necessary support that they need.
Meanwhile, business manager for SAF, Tome Notri, explained that the goal of ensuring that students have access to improved sick bays is what drove the company to join the partnership.
We went and visited these sick bays, these schools, and we interviewed the medical team and we understood the needs. And that's where we generated the list and went and bought it, did the procurement process and decided to donate it. But this is only a drop in the sea. This is to ignite a process with additional donors and for the Ministry of Education to bring in more medical equipment for students within Ghana.
Projects lead at the Development Office of the Ministry of Education, Susan Kufo, added that after a successful pilot, the projects will be replicated at all the senior high schools to transform the health needs of the schools.
The health needs of the students while they are in our care is very important and crucial, and we need to ensure that the facility that is responsible for giving that kind of support and assistance is well equipped. And it's against this background that we started this initiative.
It is recommended that government revives the need for health promotion and delivery at various senior high schools. Maybe this is the beginning of the needed revival of the sick bays on campuses. For Joy News, Karen Obing's report read to you.
Now, the Tema Regional Fire Service has begun investigations into circumstances leading to a fire outbreak at a fuel tanker yard near the Tema Tank Farm. 3 fuel tankers were burnt together with a salon car. Now, a timely intervention by the Tema Fire prevented an explosion. Joy News' Elvis Washington has more in this report.
The 3 tankers with registration numbers unknown were all partially burnt. It took the fire service well over 3 hours to completely douse the fire. 2 out of the 3 tankers were empty, while the third had a full load of petrol. But the consignment was safeguarded by the fire service. According to the Public Relations Officer for Tema Regional Fire Command, Divisional Officer Grade 3, DO3 Ebenezer Yenzu, noted that the command is yet to ascertain the exact cause of fire.
Investigations currently is ongoing. You can see the officers are going around to try and ascertain what could be the possible cause of the fire. In the rightful time, when we are able to ascertain what brought about this fire, we'll be able to communicate to the general public what really transpired. We have 3 tankers that were involved in the fire. All are partially burnt, I must say, because the content in the other one, the one which is having the product, is salvaged, and it's a 54,000 liter vehicle. But we've been able to salvage the content of the vehicle. But around 3 o'clock, that is where, around 3:35, that's where we received the call. And quickly, around 3:47, our men responded from the Thermo-Industrial Area Fire Station, and they requested for assistance from the other stations that are nearby.
DO3 Ebenezer Yenzu took the opportunity to commend his men for acting swiftly and also advised the general public on the need to get extinguishers at their homes and workplaces at all times.
So when you look at this particular incident that has occurred, the fire service, the men, officers and men that responded to this exercise have really done well. They've done a yeoman's job, and they should be applauded for their efforts that they kept in to avert a possible explosion. And as an advice also to the general public, we advise them that they should always get some of these basic firefighting equipment in their homes, in their offices, in their workplaces, so that should the fire occur, they'll be able to use it to alleviate their plight. We also would want to say that you should get training on even how to use it, not necessarily getting it only, but knowing how to use the extinguisher, and it might come in handy when the time comes for you to use it.
For Joy News, my name is Elvis Washington, reporting from Tema.
In our next story, a former vice-chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Ernest Aite, is calling for transparency and proper regulation of lithium production in the country to derive the maximal benefits for the country. According to him, transparency in the production of the mineral will minimize corruption and boost technology and innovation. Speaking at the National Stakeholder Dialogue on Energy Transition, focus on lithium discovery in Ghana, Professor Aite urged the current and future governments to use the lithium deposits in the country to change the structure of the economy. There is more in this report.
Ghana is blessed with abundant lithium deposits across the country, including the Infantiman district of the Central Region. The mineral is used in rechargeable batteries for mobile phones, laptops, digital cameras, and electric vehicles. Speaking at the Institute for Energy Security's organized workshop, the former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Professor Aite, said the country must do everything possible to ensure that governance and regulatory structures are put in place to derive enormous benefits from the mineral.
How do we ensure that this find is going to change the fortunes of those young men and women who work around the Mangassi market? How do we ensure that? It's not easy. It's not going to be easy at all, but it is possible. Once we put our minds to it and think in a manner that is creative and think about all the different stakeholders that we need to bring together, we can do it. We can make sure that the lithium benefits not only the government of Ghana or the companies that are going to be investing, but also the chiefs and people of the whole area, and by extension to all Ghanaians.
Speaking on preventing corruption in energy transition minerals supply chain, Dr. Alex Ampabing, senior economic analyst, expressed concerns about the country's fiscal regime with respect to mining. He called for the limitation of opportunity for corruption.
We've been mining in Ghana for maybe about 100 years. How up to date are our fiscal regimes? The current mining regulations, would they be fit for purpose considering the role lithium is going to play in Ghana?
The executive director of the Institute for Energy Security, Nana Amoisi VII, in an interview with Joy Business, advised the country to learn from the past experience of gold and other mineral productions.
First, we should learn from our past mistakes. That's the beginning. How did we miss the opportunities in the domain of gold extraction? How did we miss the opportunity in the oil and natural gas? Although we had all the regulation, and so if we could learn the lessons from there, we can transfer it to the domain of lithium and ensure that we get our things right.
The workshop brought together players in the oil and gas sector, including civil society organizations.
You're still live on a Joy Newsroom with me, Benjamin Akakpo. We'll be back with more after the break. You're still with us on Joy Newsroom. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. In our next story, Joy News journalist Erastus Asare-Donkor has been awarded the Environmental Sustainability Personality of the Year by the Department of Planning at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The honor is an appreciation of his consistent dedication and commitment to protecting Ghana's natural environment. Clinton Yeboah was there and has this report.
Students and faculty members gathered to witness the celebration of Erastus Asare-Donkor at a symposium by the Department of Planning of the KNUST's College of Arts and Built Environment. Erastus's investigative report, Distraction for Gold, has been described as insightful in uncovering the environmental havoc of the prevailing illegal mining activities in the country. According to Professor Clifford Amoako, the head of Department of Planning, Erastus deserves to be applauded for his bravery. He commended the steadfastness of the journalist despite victimization from perpetrators of environmental crime.
The committee came out with a report that Mr. Asare-Donkor is far ahead in terms of reporting on environmental issues and critical discussions and policy conversation in the country. We think that he has done so well, sometimes tackling issues that are very dangerous, politically very volatile, but reporting bravely with a lot of confidence and courage, and we think that he deserves to be applauded. When young people, as Mr. Asare-Donkor has done, join the fight and are strong and brave enough to sell the story, to come out boldly, to speak up and engineer conversation around the topic, maybe, and just maybe, we are likely to have some of these political power blocks or power people who are behind this to begin to feel ashamed.
Erastus expressed gratitude for the recognition and admonished corporate entities to join in the battle to fight the growing canker.
It's really an honor, and I do appreciate it. I will say thank you to the Department of Planning and all the student associations who deemed it fit to give me this award. I must say that our very existence, our resources that we should be planning and managing sustainably, so that the nation can benefit, so that our children's children, the future generation, will witness and take advantage of, is being plundered and destroyed permanently. In fact, it is our duty, it is all our responsibility, each one of us, including academia, to take charge and bring it to the fore and demand that we stop what is going on at the moment and preserve these resources.
The recognition forms part of the department's symposium themed the role of professional planner in addressing Ghana's economic crisis. Reporting for Joy News, Clinton.
Congratulations once more to Erastus Asare-Donkor. Now, public relations officers have been advised to take advantage of the growing social media craze to enhance their work. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of this year's annual thought leadership discussion organized by the Global Media Alliance, Director of the Ministry of Information, Charlotte Morgan-Esiedu, stressed that how the new media had the potential of controlling the narrative.
PR is not a tool for manipulation and deception. It depends on how you use a tool. I think that this is potentially a powerful tool to be able to help us to speak our narrative, to be able to get positive results. I think that it depends on how we use the new media. PR these days can go out and take the new media and use it for our positive results. So for me, I think that the new media rather is something that can impact and can help PR to make results and to make impact in society.
Chief Director of the Global Media Alliance, Emma Wenane, touched on the need to do away with the perception that public relations practitioners were only known for solving crises in institutions rather than attending to other important engagements such as reputation management and brand awareness.
PR is a lot of things, and maybe issues management, let me call it that, is part of PR. It's not the only thing, because we relate with stakeholders, the stakeholder engagement, there's reputation management, there's now issues management, there's a brand awareness, which is a lot of PR. But because negative news sells, I think a lot of PR people are only known when it comes to how are we able to solve a particular crisis, and that's when you appreciate the work of PR.
Let's head to the courts now. And Attorney General Godfrey Abuadame has accused Asin North Member of Parliament James Gyakye of deploying legal processes to delay his criminal trial. This comes in the wake of multiple applications filed by the legislator, including one at the Supreme Court asking that the case be put on hold. The AG on Friday urged the court to proceed with the case despite the pending applications. The court has fixed July the 18th to rule on this request. Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuayabua told pressmen the state would not be deterred despite the obvious legal hurdles it would have to scale to enable the trial progress.
We came to court this morning only to be told that the accused person, through his counsel, had filed an application, one, at the Court of Appeal, seeking to stay proceedings, and then two, an application at the Supreme Court seeking to quash and prohibit the judge from hearing the matter. Now, per practice, if you file such an application, it does not automatically stay proceeding. So we made a point that notwithstanding the fact that these applications have been filed, the judge will be right in proceeding to hear the case by asking that examination be done on PW1. The judge, after listening to us, said giving a ruling on that specific issue on Tuesday.
For almost a month now, we have virtually not been able to make any progress on this work, and the AG makes the point that it appears there is some attempts to halt the trial effectively.
That's the point. There's an attempt to delay proceedings through the legal process, which you will say fine, it's within their right to use the legal process to fight their cause. But that doesn't mean that when they file such applications, the court must wait for them for the application to move at the appellate court or at the Supreme Court. So we are concerned about that. But we are ready. If I told you last week, we come to court to speak law. This morning, we are speaking law in court. Tuesday, we know what the judge will say, whether the judge will agree with us or disagree with us.
Now, former Majority Leader Cletus Avoka is leading a fierce opposition to efforts to repeal the death penalty. Under Ghanaian law, the offense of murder carries the death penalty, but since 1992, no convicted murderer has been killed. Cletus Avoka says the argument in support of the reform is porous. We will hear from him shortly. First, though, listen to a sponsor of the private members' bill seeking to amend the law, MP for Madina, Francis Xavier Sosu, on why this change is necessary.
Mr. Speaker, the very last execution in Ghana happened on the 17th of July, 1993, where 12 men were killed by firing squad. Mr. Speaker, the current position of Ghana is that we are abolitionists de facto, or abolitionists in practice. Mr. Speaker, this is so because since 1993 to date, Ghana has not signed a death warrant to execute anyone. Mr. Speaker, in these engagements, we have had several consensus. For example, a political consensus. A political consensus because the then administration of the NDC began this process, and as soon as this bill was laid in Parliament, the current government, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also has openly endorsed the position of the bill. And this year, the President voted at the UN in favor of the resolution to end the use of death penalty. All the consensus that we have built over the years supports the fact that it is time for Ghana to amend its laws so that it can align with our practices.
Well, his bill has received support from Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, which has recommended the passage of the bill. Bernard Ahiafo is ranking member on that committee.
Life lost can never be regained. And there is a judicial principle of it's better you leave 99% guilty person free than to convict one innocent person. Assuming the death penalty is carried out. It means the person is going to be executed to death by either hanging or firing squad. Committee is recommending to the House to adopt its report and pass the death penalty bill into law. Death penalty should be replaced with life imprisonment. The responsibility now rests on Parliament to take the necessary actions. After extensive consultation, the committee is of the view that continuous retention of the death penalty in the criminal statute makes a mockery of justice, and the mere fact that for almost 3 decades, presidents of the Republic have found it unnecessary to sign execution warrants is an indication that Ghana does not need the law.
The arguments they have advanced this evening in favor of the motion are very spurious and have no merit at all. The arguments in favor of the motion are unmeritorious, very, very unmeritorious. Besides that, Mr. Speaker, it's a very lopsided argument that they have advanced this evening. They have not addressed the two sides of the coin. Mr. Speaker, this issue, the first point that they canvass is the point of uncertainty, judicial uncertainty. What is perfect on this earth that we think that the judiciary should have been perfect? What is perfect? 2 a.m., an intruder comes into my house. He climbs a ladder. He goes to look for a ladder that comes into my house, climbs up, breaks open my door and window, then kills me. Or if before then, he would have raped my wife, my partner lying with me. While I'm looking at it, he's raping my wife. Then, as if that is not enough, he takes my life and he kills me. Then this man has human rights. He has a human right. I have no human right. He should come and take my life within 30 minutes. He has truncated me to the next world. I have no rights. And he has a right to live. What right? What right, Mr. Speaker? Please. Honorable member.
Let's talk national science and math quiz now. And 6 schools in the eastern region, including defending champions St. Peter's SHS, are slugging it out at the semi-final stage of the 2023 Goyle Regional Championship for 3 available slots at the finals. Now, in what came as a surprise to many, Ofori-Penning SHS came from behind to kick out Ebrigol's SHS to progress to the next round of the competition. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku reports from Koforidua.
So these are the students from Ofori-Penning Senior High School, and they just boot out Ebrigels. Ebrigels was leading them by some points during the first and second round. They managed to overturn the contest during the third round and led them with some 4 points. And then today they are living here as the qualifiers, or they have qualified to the semi-final stage. How did you feel on stage? I know, I think there's first or second round, you got some 4 points, and that was a bit down for you. How did you feel?
Oh, quite easy, because we know we have speed more than them. Yeah.
You are saying it was quite easy. Hey, some of you weren't easy at all.
We know that, but you know, the first one, maybe it's a lack, but the speed race can determine some things, and also the true of us. So there was hope.
I think the two of us did magic for you.
Oh, Slightly.
Sure, because that's when you were able to overcome Ebri Girls.
Yeah, but not much.
2015 we had the quarterfinals, and anytime we meet Ebri Presby Secondary Technical, either they kick us out or we kick them. For Ebri Girls, they were not part of my border.
It was one of my dreams as in Opas. I was always waiting for us to reach this stage, and then by God's grace we are here. We are hoping to go far in this competition.
So this is your dream? Is a dream come true for you?
Yes, one of my dream come true.
Sure. Pescoba. So these are the guys from St. Peter's SHS. Pope Jones, they told me they will kill you, they will massacre you.
Frankly speaking, they are not our size and they should be ready. We are going to decompose them. Oh, frankly speaking, they will not exist in the universe again. And the next time when we are calling for regionals, when they hear St. Peter's, in fact, they won't want to come again. They won't want to come again at all. We are going to give them over 40-point gap. And
is it happening tomorrow or just when is this 40 gap happening?
When it comes, you know, it will come tomorrow live, and 40-point gap, and they will end up being negative zone. Speed race, do not even pick one. I'm telling you, sure.
We show working, and that is what we mean by Enyekasa.
Well, we do have an update from the Eastern region. Emmanuel Bright-Kweku is still on the ground. Emmanuel, what's the latest from the Eastern region? Emmanuel, please unmute so we can hear what you're saying.
Hello, Benjamin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
All right. So, Benjamin, we just ended the semi-final contest, the second contest for the semi-finals. And we saw St. Peter's joining in the finals, and they will clash with Pope Jones. As you can see behind me, they are ready for action. And then also we had a second or a third school joining to the semi-finals, that is Kwakwa State College. They managed, in the first contest, Pope Jones beat them, but they managed to advance by just a slim margin. They qualified with 1 point ahead of the other top runners-up. I'm talking about NIFA SHS. NIFA had 19 and they had 20, so they have advanced to the semi-final stage. So it's going to be a contest between Pope John's and St. Peter's and also a Kwakwa State College. But I want to find out from the boys in the yellow shirt behind me, and then we want to know, we know it's a rival between the Pope John and then St. Peter's. We want to find out what we should expect. What should we expect from you guys? We are winning. We are winning the contest. We are winning. Are you sure? Yes. We are winning. Yes. Like 40 something. So what happened to them? Yesterday they told me you people, you know, if you get the speedway, none of the person. That's what they told you. Just wait and watch. Wait and watch. Okay, so you also did say what will happen to them. You are coming for them. You win. Yes. And that will be a history for you because I think you've not won it. Yes. No, we won. What before? They are having like three championships. Yes. This is a revenge. Yes. Come back. That will be Pope John SHS and minus 7. They are telling us that it's going to be a real battle between them and then the St. Message. They are hoping to place their second regional championship trophy, and St. Peter's is hoping to also place their trophy, their fourth trophy. They are the defending champions as we speak. So, Benjamin, this is the latest from the East Region.
Thank you, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku, bringing us the scoop there as Pope John lock horns with St. Peter's and the Kwakwa State College. Thank you for your company on A Joy Newsroom with me, Benjamin Akakpo. We wish you the best of the afternoon. Stay blessed.